Hey everybody, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you here. I am in conversation today with our Writing Brave Press author, Jane Clark. And Jane, you may remember, is the author of the memoir Story Carrier. And most recently, newly out, hot off the press, this workbook, Storying Silence, a writing workbook to restore your voice and reclaim your sovereignty. So, welcome, Jane.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and talk with you.
Yeah, congratulations on publishing book two. We're so happy for you. And how does it feel? Like book two is out in the world. How does it feel?
Oh, very interesting question. I have been so busy with this
Yeah.
book. I feel like I've gone to the hospital and brought home an infant that I'm now caring for.
Yeah.
So the entire process of writing was like giving birth and carrying a child. And now a different kind of work is coming along. It's very exciting, but nobody told the mother how much work it would be, right?
Yes, that's fair. Talk to us a little bit about the genesis of Storying Silence. How did this book sort of come to you and kind of ask to be born?
Well, I think it was the seeds of this book began in the memoir.
Yes.
As I started writing and discovered the power of a couple of things, of learning to listen deeply for stories, and
Mm.
then actually interacting with you and the way you learned. You were listening intuitively for the stories I seemed to be carrying. And
Mm.
as I wrote about them in the book, we discussed whether or not to include writing prompts with the memoir
Yes, that's
because
great.
that memoir was really a lot of work. It was a lot of soul work. It was unearthing childhood memories. And it came to me that after all the years of working with women who carry stories silently, um, we needed a creative process to bring these stories into being that um, my legacy in the memoir that I wrote about was the way women in my family had been silenced.
Mm-hmm.
But silenced felt so final to me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something that would help women create out of silence and not be afraid of it, to
Yes.
approach it more like a threshold, a door waiting to be
Oh,
opened.
love that. Yeah, that's really beautiful. You've been teaching these writing workshops for years where you kind of have small groups of women who are kind of generating work together and kind of unburying, as you described it, unburying their stories. Why a workbook and why now? I know we've talked a lot about this, but share with everybody why a workbook, why now?
Um, it's amazing. When I do workshops, I'm always amazed at how easily the stories bubble up. That
Mm,
for the most part, the women who participated needed just simply a place to show up, a circle that was safe, a
yes.
group of witnesses to hear their stories, and they almost needed nothing else to be prompted. You know, a
Mm,
couple of writing prompts, but these stories just bubbled right up to the surface. And
yes.
I thought, why not a workbook that could help women do this for themselves, create a safe space where they could explore stories about their own experiences in really kind of safe ways, and they could learn to become witnesses to their own stories.
Mm,
And right now, I feel that women's voices are just under so much threat.
yes. Yep.
And I have to say that as I wrote this, I became somewhat emboldened by the process. The
Mm,
more I wrote about the need for women to open up and be supported in sharing their stories, the more convinced I became that there is a cultural, worldwide, international, historic effort to keep us from speaking.
yes.
And someone has to say that. someone has to say that to women, that if not now, when?
Mm,
And that we are in a period of history where we're actually literally watching our rights being taken away.
yes.
But I don't see us as voiceless victims.
Mm,
And I think it's crucial for our own survival and sanity that we take back narrative control, that
mm,
we don't just allow the story of our losses to be carried by an industry like the news media who trying to do their job, but it's our story to tell.
mm,
And the beginning of reclaiming voice is standing up and saying, I'm going to use my words and tell my story in my own voice.
yes.
And that's very empowering. And I just feel like this is really the time to begin doing this.
Yes, I think you're so right. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the process of writing this book and how for you, I know we've talked about how it was sort of an excavation for you of your unearthing your own stories, right? And kind of that continuation of the process you started with Story Carrier that carries into Storying Silence. So if you could talk a little bit about what that process was like as you were writing the workbook.
That was such an interesting, and I have to say, I was a little surprised by myself. I've been a journalist. I worked for the Associated Press. I worked for a major Northeastern university and taught writing. I have a PhD in writing,
Yeah.
but I still faced the same intimidating process of opening up when I
Mm,
tried to write this. Each section that I wrote put me in touch with stories that I had been afraid to speak aloud.
mm,
So it was truly a process of excavation for me. And
yeah.
it was exhausting. It was physical, it was emotional, it was
Mm.
psychological. But at the same time, it felt very good to dig up the gold that had been buried under the mud.
Mm, I love that so much. What
And
do
it
you,
also,
oh, go
it
ahead.
also, if I can say this, it also made me aware of the need to ritualize the process of writing,
Yeah.
to honor it,
Mm,
to because it is a sacred process of reclamation. So I found that not only did I discover that I had more stories to tell than I realized, even at this point in my life, I realized that I had um, to enact some rituals like light a candle,
hmm.
metaphorically carry the light into the dark spaces,
Yes.
and authorize myself in the process.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that honoring that process is crucial for women. It's very important.
Yeah. That's so powerful. And as you know, I talk a lot about writing rituals in my own work and just the importance, like you said, of kind of creating that safe space. So many of the women that I work with are writing really painful or difficult stories as a way of, again, kind of that healing process, but excavating sort of some of the pain that they have gone through. And I think, like you said, that ritual can kind of create that safe space to give you almost the safety to kind of keep showing up like day after day and week after week, right? I think a lot of people, if they don't have that, what I observe is they kind of lose steam or it becomes too difficult, right, to keep going. So I think I know you're planning to use the workbook in groups, and I think that's another really beautiful way to kind of be able to use the engine of a group to keep going so that you're not on your own. Will you show us kind of the inside and sort of like what the different sections are?
Sure, I would love to. Okay, so this is the size of a workbook that you might use in
Yeah,
a a college course, and I wanted it to be that way so that it would look like a container.
yeah.
And that's part of the ritual process. We
Mm,
need containers for our stories. So I opened with my own story of being
mm-hmm,
silenced and how painful and difficult that was for me because I felt like I needed to be very transparent about what it looks like for someone who had been a professional writer to come to terms with her own silencing process. So I open up with that. And then I move into a discussion of how it is women are culturally programmed to be silenced.
Mm,
So I have a big discussion about that, and I'm hoping that that will help women to engage their voice, to
yeah.
take a look at some of these stories and say, "Oh, wow, that happened to me. I had a teacher who didn't call on me in class as well, and I know how that feels."
Yep.
Um, then I have several recommendations for how to take care of yourself in the process because I think it is difficult. It is a lot of work. And I really believe in supporting one another as we do this and supporting ourselves.
Yeah.
So then the meat of the book really is what I call the initiation, which
Mm,
is stepping right into the stories, stepping out of silence and into the stories. And the first section I'll show you, I mean, each one, there are 13 sections, and each one is focused on a particular area of a woman's life where she's experienced silence,
yeah.
where she's been conditioned to be quiet. And the first one, for example, that everyone can relate to, I'm sure, is that of childhood experience.
Yep.
And each section, and like this one each section begins with a story that is about a woman who's been silenced or written by a woman who's been silenced, but it will give kind of a prominent example of how this occurs for other women. And
Mm,
the first one is the story about Beatrix Potter,
mm,
who everybody knows, Peter Rabbit, but they may not know that Beatrix grew up in a family where she was dismissed, dishonored, silenced. She was silenced by a professional organization she tried to join out of college.
mm,
And so after her story, I have a series of writing prompts that follow this. And for example, the first one is write about a time when a friend or family member betrayed you. How
mm.
did it feel? And I include space for that to occur because I really think it's important that when a story triggers something, you have the opportunity to
Yes.
write about it.
Yeah.
And then I include some supportive additional thoughts, how to support yourself through it.
Yep.
And it goes into several different sections, writing about personal adult relationships, writing about marriage, writing about work, writing about uh, pressures to adhere to beauty standards and
Mm,
body image, um, experiences in the medical profession where you feel like you haven't been heard or your condition has been minimized. So there are several areas where I tell a story about how this happens to a woman and then follow up with prompts to help everybody write.
mm. Oh, it's so good. All right. Talk to us a little bit about the cover. So I know when we were working with the cover designer, she came with like several different concepts, right? And one was this idea of the bird cage with the birds flying out. So why did that resonate and what does the cover mean to you?
I love the way the artist listened to me and listened to the soul of the story that I was writing,
Yeah.
which is sort of the collective history of women being silenced. And she listened, and then she listened again, and then she came back and listened more deeply. And she was able to come up with a gorgeous color, which I think reflects the boldness of the story I'm trying to tell and the request that I'm asking of women to step out of the darkness.
Mm,
And I love the design because the woman, if you notice, is touching her throat, where most of us feel physically we're silenced. Our jaw tightens, our voice tightens up and gets dry. We stop speaking real clearly or loudly. And as she touches her throat, it feels like she's opening the latch of the door in the bird cage, and the stories are flying out.
yeah. It's so
So
beautiful.
I'm just loving the cover. I just think it's incredible.
Yes, and it just reminded me, I hadn't thought of this before, but a friend of mine, when she turned 40, recently got her first tattoo, and it's of a bird cage on her back. And across her whole back, there are just birds flying out of the bird cage. So it's very similar, actually, to
Oh my
the design in
goodness.
her book. Yeah, in any case, yes, I think we all have those stories that are like wanting to fly free. So. Talk to us about, I know you have a couple things coming up in ways that people can connect with you. So tell us about, I know you're doing a workshop coming up for writers. So tell us about that and also how can people kind of stay in touch?
Well, I'm kind of everywhere right now. I have a new website at storycarriers.com, which I think is beautiful. A very interesting young woman who designed it for me. And just so proud of the work she did. It really reflects this book and reflects the message I'm trying to get across to women. And through the website, I'm offering a connection to my monthly newsletter, which is also undergoing revision right now, but ready to be released, as well as a connection or link to purchase the book, both books, the memoir and the writing workbook, and a link to my column on Substack,
Mm,
which becomes pretty bold, pretty political and pretty bold when I write, because that's a whole different setting, and I feel like I can speak to women very differently in that area.
yeah.
As well as reaching me on Instagram, on Facebook, and my email address. I will be offering writing workshops coming up, and you'll need to go to the website to check those out and apply to participate. Another thing I'm going to be offering, and this is just about ready to be presented on the website, are bi-monthly audio recordings of reflections and writing prompts.
Oh, yay.
Um, I just feel very, very strongly about the need for a threshold space for women. And
Mm,
there are times in the day when um, a reader may not have time to sit down and write in the book,
mm.
but relaxing after the kids go to bed, or somebody's got a TV program on that you don't like, you can plug in headphones and listen to me lead you through a brief reflection and a couple of writing prompts. And hopefully that will be an encouraging way to unwind too.
Yes, I love it so much. I love everything you have going on. So, congratulations again. Storying Silence is out now. You can buy it on any website that sells books. So, Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, bookshop.org, which will support your local indie bookstore. And yeah, Storying Silence by Jane Clark. You can go get your copy anywhere online that books are sold. And Jane, congratulations again. We're so happy for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Brooke.